So today's video is about 3 things that people tend to misunderstand about INFPs. And this may not be true across the board. Oh, that's a lot of lights. This may not be true across the board for every INFP, but I think these are fairly common misconceptions. The first one is that INFPs are lazy, that we don't like to do anything. That's definitely not true. While it's true that we are dreamers and that we're in our head a lot of times fantasizing about all the things we want to do, we also quite often take steps to accomplish at least some of our dreams. Some of them we do leave alone and leave just for the fantasy in our head. But then there are others that we take steps towards. It's just that a lot of times we come across as not doing anything because we don't broadcast the things that we do. This happens to me a lot because I love to write, and most people who know me know that I love to write and that I would like to write books that people read and enjoy and get inspired by. Now, oftentimes when I talk to my friends about this, they say, well, why don't you just do that? And sometimes I tell them, and sometimes I just politely smile. But sometimes I tell them, well, I actually do that. I do write books. And then they'll say, well, why don't you publish them? And I say, I do publish my books. What do you mean you publish them? Well, they're on Amazon right now. So the point is, a lot of INFPs do lots of things. Like they make goals and they reach them, but they just don't broadcast them. And I think that's a huge difference from other less introverted personality types, who when they do something, they want other people to support what they're doing. So they tell them. They tell their friends, they tell their family, they get the support. But for some reason, INFPs, we aren't very good at self-promotion most of the time. I'm sure there's some out there that are, but I think generally we just don't like it. It makes us feel icky. So we do things and we keep it to ourselves and then no one knows about it. That's usually what happens. Yeah, I don't know. Oops. I don't know if that's necessarily a good thing. It probably isn't if you're an artist and you need to promote your work. In that case, it's probably good to have an agent or to hire like an advertising consultant who can do the promotion for you. But yeah, we're not lazy, we just work quietly. A second thing that is often misunderstood about us is that we dislike people or that we're antisocial. Now, it's true that after a while, INFPs may decide to sort of withdraw from society for a bit, and this is usually after they've been hurt. But it's not because we don't like people. In fact, we love people. I know I love people. Like most everyone who I come in contact with for an extended period of time, I develop feelings of real love for them, which sounds kind of dramatic, but it's true. I fall in love with basically everyone, but I'm afraid of showing it. So I purposely act like kind of detached because I'm afraid that if I show it, then I'm gonna look weird, like just like too much, and it won't be reciprocated, you know? And also there's a fear of being judged and criticized. Like if I get too close to someone, then they're gonna see too much. They'll see too much of me, meaning there will be more for them to criticize. And I think a lot of INFPs share that fear because most of us have been harshly criticized in the past, and we're really sensitive types. So when someone judges us too harshly, it's almost like traumatic event. Because we're so sensitive. Like, for example, I remember this from years ago. I was probably like 15 years old, and I was hanging out with my brother and some of his friends, which I was so that made me like the happiest person ever, because usually my brother did not want to hang out with me, and his friends were like way too cool for me. But for once, I was with them, and I was excited to be there. So I was like all bubbly and happy, and like probably being super annoying, like little sisters are. And one of his friends turned around. He stopped walking as we were walking somewhere. He turned around, he looked at me, and he's like, "What is wrong with you? Are you on drugs?" God. And so right then and there, I was like, okay, this is not cool. I shouldn't act happy. So that's when I stopped, like, um, being who, like, normally on the inside, I am pretty bubbly, like, enthusiastic. But that taught me you're not supposed to act that way, especially not around guys, because that will just annoy them. And I still remember exactly how I felt when he said that. I remember the look on his face and everything. So that little moment, which really doesn't matter at all, and to most people that they would forget that. But for me, that little moment was traumatic. And so that told me that I am annoying to guys. And that when I am around them, I need to not act as happy as I really am. And just let them be who they are while I'm quiet. That's very unhealthy and not good. But I think that similar things happen to INFPs, like we're bad experiences that hurt us in the past make us kind of withdraw from people. But it's not because we don't like people. It's just that we're afraid of being criticized or judged too harshly like we were in the past. So a third misconception that people have, and I'm looking at my notes, I have some notes here. A third misconception that people have is that we're judgmental. And this only comes from people who don't really know us well, but who are only basing their beliefs on the look on our face or because of how quiet we are. While it's true that a lot of times we tend to overanalyze people, including ourselves, we do that because we care about people and we're trying to understand why they do the things that they do. Like, we care about people so much that we want to see how they work. You know how some little kids, they are obsessed with taking things apart and then putting them back together. My brother used to be like that. Like any appliance, he would like take it apart and then put it back together. And he did that because he wanted to see how everything worked. That's the way that INFPs are about people. We're fascinated by other people. Not even other people. We're fascinated by humans in general, including ourselves. So we'll literally analyze anyone like to death. Where it's like we're in our head taking them apart so we can figure out how all their stuff works and then trying to put them back together. And while we are trying to come to certain conclusions about people, we're not, what's the word? We're not condemning them. We're just trying to figure them out. So yeah, we might be looking at somebody like with a frowny face, but it's not because we're judging them harshly. We're just trying to figure them out. Now, that said, there are certain people, like, if somebody's just yelling or being mean to someone else, and I'm looking at them like this, yes, I'm trying to figure them out, and yes, I'm probably not coming to a very nice conclusion about them. But again, even that doesn't mean that I'm condemning them and thinking they're a horrible, awful person. What I'm probably thinking is, I bet they had a really bad childhood. Like, why are they lashing out like this? Why are they so insecure? Like, what happened to them to make them like this? That's probably what I'm thinking. And that's probably what most INFPs are thinking. Okay, so those are the three ways that three of the ways in which I think we're misunderstood a lot of times. Laziness, what's the second one? That we don't like people or that we're antisocial. And third, that we're judgmental. We are none of those things. What we are, though, is a little bit quieter than most people. And I think that's why all of those things are often misunderstood. So maybe a fix for that is if we're less quiet. Maybe, maybe we should try opening up a little bit more. Even though that does mean opening up ourselves to being hurt, which is going to suck. At the same time, what good does it do the world to close oneself off? Because there's nothing wrong with sharing yourself with the people around you. The positive sides of yourself especially. So it's like I had a friend recently tell me that it's important to show people who you are. That can clear up their misconceptions that you're just shy or that you don't have an opinion or you have too much of an opinion or whatever it may be. Just show people the truth of who you are and it'll help them and it'll help you. I think that was good advice that she gave me. So I'm just passing it along. Okay, that's it for today's video. I'm really sleepy, so I'm gonna take a nap. And I hope that you do whatever makes you happy today. Bye!